Hello and welcome to the Empowered by Claudia podcast, where we explore all things self-development. Here you'll discover practical tools, tips and strategies to help you feel more confident, empowered and in control of your life. I'm Claudia, I'm your host, I'm a registered nurse and mindset coach, fear of success instructor, and most importantly, your guide on your self-development journey. I know firsthand how confusing and overwhelming and isolating this path can feel. So I created this podcast so you never have to navigate it alone. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Empowered by Claudia podcast. I'm so excited to bring you another episode. A little reminder that we are on YouTube on video and obviously on your podcast. What are they called? Podcast listening places. They have a proper name for the audio only version. So today we're going to be talking about rest and more specifically, how elusive rest can be when we desperately need it. So for all the parents listening, we've just had the February half-term holidays and mine was quite exhausting. The weather was atrocious. My children actually quite like being outside in the rain and the mud, but even so, they weren't getting enough outside time. So we're then responding with a lot of mischief, which was fun. And I get to, back at work now on it. And you're thinking, I'm exhausted. I am so tired. And it feels like there's no respite. Because even in those moments where you technically could rest, often we deny ourselves rest, whether that is doom scrolling, whether that is staying up later because we want to feel like we're doing something for ourselves. Maybe that's watching a TV show. Maybe that's reading a book, whatever that may be. And it feels really hard because you want to claw back a bit of time for yourself, but ultimately we know we need rest. So what happens when we know we need rest? We have the opportunity for rest, but we cannot rest. I've said rest a lot of times in that sentence. There are two reasons I'm going to talk about why rest can feel elusive. And one is that we are conditioned to not feel worthy of rest. And the other is that we are so overstimulated that it is impossible for our bodies to rest because we don't feel safe to rest. So I'm going to talk about those both today throughout this podcast episode. And I'd be really interested if you have any thoughts and you want to share them with me, just send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, or send me an email and let me know what you think. So we're going to talk about this conditioning that makes rest feel like something we have to earn. But we're also going to talk about our nervous system and how that can be playing a part in stopping us from getting that desperately needed rest. So if you've ever said to yourself, why can't I just relax? I should be able to relax. If your nail tech who's doing your nails is constantly saying, like, just relax, relax, relax. Andy will know exactly what I'm saying. Then you're in the right place. So I've got some questions that I'm going to ask you through this episode. I will drop them in the show notes so you can go back and journal on them, or you can pause me and answer the questions in real time. It's completely up to you. You use this episode however works best for you. So, why does rest feel unsafe or impossible? So, what were you taught about rest growing up? Now, this doesn't necessarily mean someone sitting you down and saying to you, this is what rest means, and this is when you can rest and when you can't rest. But it's also about the things that we pick up, the things we observe, the conversations we overhear, the unspoken rules. You know, like my mum would never sit down and watch TV after a meal like my dad would because she'd always be washing up. and she wouldn't sit down until the washing up was done. And you observe that and you think, okay, this is how it's meant to be. I can't rest until I've washed up. Or it could be, I speak to my mum a few months ago and she was like, oh, I was so exhausted. I had to stop in the middle of my cleaning. I'm like, but why did you start cleaning if you were exhausted before? She was like, but I needed to, and it basically transpired that she felt that she needed to have done all the chores so that she could then rest afterwards as a reward. And rest is not a reward. It's something that we need. We're humans. We don't have infinite amounts of energy. We do need to look after ourselves and conserve that energy and be mindful of where we're using it. Also, for those of us with a menstrual cycle, we will have days where we have got loads of energy and feel like we can conquer the world, and other days when we don't. And that is absolutely fine. The lunar cycle also impacts our energy levels. I've got a free masterclass all about it. I'll drop the link in the show notes. And ultimately, there are so many things that can impact our energy level on a day-to-day basis, and we don't need to feel like we have to earn that rest. So I encourage you to just think about what comes up when I say rest. Does it feel like something that you have to earn? What do you associate with it? What words would you connect with rest? So is it rest is lazy? Rest is a reward. Rest is something that I don't deserve. Or rest is restorative. Rest is important. Rest is work. And we need to make time for that rest. Rest is productive. Because actually, by taking that time away from the screen, laptop, from that activity and pausing, we are allowing ourselves to have big ideas, to think differently about problems. I don't know if you've ever been on a course and when you step away from the workplace and you go somewhere different, you suddenly get new ideas. And it may or may not be related to what is actually being taught in the course. Actually, sometimes just that change of scenery, that break, that, they say change is as good as rest. And in that case, like sometimes that is the trigger to help you think differently, to think outside the box, to think of a new way forward. It's by stopping that constant overwhelm of tasks that we never quite see the end of that to-do list that it becomes really hard to think differently. And this is where rest is really important because it allows us to think differently, to consider other options that we might not have considered beforehand. Do you feel guilt when you try and slow down? If you give yourself a lie-in? Do you wake up thinking, I could have done, X, Y, Z in the time that I've been sleeping? Do you think about things you should do rather than being gentle and understanding of your current situation? I found this hard. I know last week's episode was about chronic illness, adjusting to living with fatigue because there's a lot of, but why do I need so much rest? Why can't I deal with less rest than other people? And all of those things that we say to ourselves, we kind of embody it, it sinks in. And even if we are not actively repeating it like an affirmation, our bodies are taking that as, well, that's the truth. That rest is somehow bad, lazy. And that's not the case. But do you feel guilt for resting? It took a long time for me to make peace with sitting while other people were doing things. For example, when Evie was little, um, I'd already started my self-development journey a little bit. I hadn't trained as a coach, and at the time was when she was a baby. But actually, I had to ask for help. I'd say, do you know what? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to hold the baby, but could you run the hoover around? And getting used to that, to other people helping, that was a huge thing. You think, but I'm just sitting here. It's like, but you've just had major surgery and you've just had a really tricky pregnancy and you're not sleeping. And actually, the most important thing right now is to sit here and hold your baby and take comfort from that and rest and let other people nurture and care for you. And that's a big one. And it's really hard because we feel like we should be hosting, that we should not be asking people to clean for us. But in actual fact, that is the biggest present they could give us because that takes away the pressure. It does. It feels awkward at first, but if you keep persevering, it will feel easier. And just think about it when you're helping someone else, how that feels. It feels good to know that you're being able to help someone and make their life a little bit easier. So by not letting somebody help you, you're denying them that opportunity to feel good for themselves, that they've been able to make a difference, that they've been able to help. And that is a huge thing, absolutely huge. I'm going to talk a little bit more about your nervous system. So what does our nervous system believe will happen if we stop, if we rest, if we relax? So if I untense my muscles, what's going to happen? Does it mean that someone will catch me unawares and I'll get injured? Realistically, looking around, no. But for some reason, my nervous system is constantly scanning, looking, thinking, where's the danger? What's going to get me? And that is not helpful because you cannot rest when your body is saying, but we're in active danger. Active danger. This is not safe. So sometimes, and this is what I said at the beginning, sometimes it's that not feeling worthy of rest, those conditioning, the picking up on the social cues when we're growing up of, we can only rest once we've done X, Y, Z. Once I've ticked off my entire to-do list, then I can rest. Not that actually little rests will actually be more productive than slogging through. But also, what is our nervous system telling us? Because even if we're mentally saying, I need to rest is so essential for me, I'm so tired. If our body is saying we're in mortal danger, we're not going to be able to slow down because we've got adrenaline running through our veins. Our breathing is fast, our heart rate is fast. And you try and relax when your body is sending all of these signals saying, we're in danger, we've got to get ready to run. You can't. It's like trying to go to sleep when you're in a car driving at 70 miles an hour down the motorway. You can't because your body's like, no, you stay awake, you stay alert. This is not a safe time to go to sleep. And this is why when it does get to the evening and we're finally lying down in bed and we think, right now, it's time to go to sleep, and our brain is full of things, we cannot bear the silence. It feels uncomfortable. So we need to constantly reach for our phone. Let's have a look. Let's see what's going on this app, on this one. What's the news? because being alone with our thoughts, that that is uncomfortable. We've got to explore it deeper. We need to calm our nervous system. We need to show it is safe. And there are a number of ways that we can do that. And it might be something that if this is resonating with you, if you're feeling any of these feelings, and I will go through a list of the symptoms that you may be potentially feeling. But there are things that you can do right now that will help you shift from that fight flight mode into rest and digest. Rest being the key word there. So when we are in fight and flight, our body is preparing and getting ready to take action, the exact opposite of rest. So I've mentioned it before, but our heart rate is increased. We have rapid, shallow breathing. Our pupils are dilated. We sweat. Our digestion is inhibited. Our muscles are tensed. We're releasing adrenaline and cortisol. Cortisol's our stress hormone. We have an increase in blood sugar. And we have a reduced immune response. So when we are experiencing all of these feelings, these are getting us ready to run away, to fight. They're not conducive to rest. The symptoms that you'll get when the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system is activated are a slower heart rate, slow, deep breathing, constricted pupils. Our digestion is stimulated, our muscles relax, our blood pressure is lower. We have decreased stress hormone levels, so our cortisol level goes down. We have an enhanced immune function, and this promotes sleep and restorative function. And this is where we want to be. So how do we get from this sympathetic activation into this parasympathetic activation? So how can we get into rest and digest mode? And we do that by calming the vagus nerve. This is called nervous system regulation. I have a downloadable list of things that you can do, but I'll just pull out a few snippets for you. So we can do some breathing exercises. So probably the easiest one to remember is box breathing. So we breathe in for the count of 4, and that can be as fast or as slow as your breath capacity is. You then hold for the count of 4, exhale for the count of 4, and hold for the count of 4. And the reason that it's called box breathing is you kind of make like a box. So if you're bringing use your index finger and basically draw a line in the air as you're breathing in, go down. Sorry, the line in the air was horizontal. Then go down as you're holding, and then go horizontal again over as you're breathing out. And then as you go up to meet the beginning, that's when you are holding your breath. And then again, breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. And as you're creating a square, you don't have to do that if you don't want, but it's just a visual reminder. And you do that 4 times. And that will help calm your breathing down. It will help calm your mind. It activates your vagus nerve, which is the main nerve of your parasympathetic nervous system, and is responsible for reducing your heart rate, reducing your blood pressure, and just basically bringing these feelings of calm. So it's really important. You can also do big sighs. So take a deep breath in And then do a massive sigh, letting your shoulders drop and the tension release as you're breathing out. Other things that you can do are the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise, which is looking for 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And this just helps bring your attention back to your body, to your current experience, not to stressing about things in the future or wallowing in things from the past, literally to the present. What is around me right now? What can I see? What can I hear? What can I smell? All of this, we're just activating our senses. Thinking about our posture is another way of activating or regulating our nervous system. So we could think about sitting up straight, pulling our shoulder blades together and hold for 3 to 5 seconds and then release. And repeat that 5 times. And that will just help bring your awareness into your body, again, bringing you back into the room, into your body, and reminding you that you are in this situation and you are safe. The other nervous system regulation things you can do are gentle mobility or micro movements. So this could be shoulder rolls or neck rotations. It could be rotating our ankles or our wrists, just anything that's just going to bring some gentle movement into our body. And then the main things that we can do are thinking about our mindset. So when you are going to rest, is it that we set intention or is it that we have some gratitude? It might be that before we go to bed, we write down 1 thing we're grateful for today or 3 things, whatever feels right. Is it that we mentally reflect on the day and we think, okay, what am I proud of myself for? Was it that I made my bed? Did I have a shower? Did I brush my teeth? Did I do something I was really scared of? Did I do something that will make future me really impressed? Like making sure I haven't left dirty dishes in the sink so that when I go down to make my breakfast, actually the sink's clear, because going down and the dirty dishes from the night before in the sink, it's just not a great way to start your day. No guilt, no shame. I do it sometimes. But I'm always very grateful for my past self for having done it before going to bed, even though past self did not want to do it before going to bed. But future self is always very grateful. Saying about how you could reframe negative thoughts. So if you're saying, I can't relax, how could we reframe that to, I have tools that can help me manage this? I'm going to download Claudia's checklist, and it's not really a checklist, but you know what I mean, resource. And I'm going to give myself a routine for rest. I am going to have a little rest ritual. So this is how I switch off. This is how I relax. This is how I tell my nervous system we are safe. We are not about to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. By incorporating that ritual for rest, that helps us overcome that overstimulation. That means that when we want to rest desperately, we just can't because we're forcing it. And you cannot force your body to change. You can't say, oh, you're not stressed. I mean, you can, it just won't necessarily work, but we can give ourselves the right environment to help. I talk about this a lot, but a visual reminder. So maybe it's that you have your journal on your bedside table with a pen. So it's easy, it's set up, it's ready. There's a visual reminder. Okay, it's there, right? Let me quickly write in it before I actually get into bed. Or put my pajamas on, get into bed. And my journal's right there. I do that and then I lie down. Actually adding that in to your routine, that actually rest is something that, even if you spent the day in bed, there's still a bedtime routine, that you still deserve that routine, regardless of what you've done or not done that day. So yes, so that is just a little snippet of how to regulate your nervous system so that we are more receptive and in the right space to rest. Another great thing is a yoga nidra practice. I've mentioned this before. There are lots of people on YouTube that have videos that talk you through, and they're just gentle yoga movements that you can do in bed. They will basically help you calm down and relax so that you can sleep. I'm going to bring back a few more questions now. What beliefs or messages taught you that rest is lazy, selfish, or unproductive? And I want to encourage you that rest isn't hard because you're bad at it. It's hard because we were taught to fear it, that it was something that was reward. I say, if you can't switch off, you're not broken, but you're overstimulated. I'm going to bring this episode to a close and go back to what I said at the beginning, is that, when we want to rest, but actually we can't, there are two things that could be at play here. So one, it could be conditioning, that we believe that we haven't done enough to earn rest, that we don't deserve rest. Or it could be that we are so overstimulated because our body doesn't feel safe to rest. Neither of these mean that we're broken, and both of them are fixable. And I want to tell you that you do deserve rest. You do not have to earn it. And there are ways that you can help your body relax so that you're able to rest. So have a think about some of the things that I've suggested in this episode, and if there's any that you could incorporate into your daily life that will help bring those little moments of rest throughout your day. Because trust me, you will be so much more productive if you scatter in some little micro moments of rest throughout your day than if you just plow on through and say, well, I'll rest or sleep when I'm dead. You know that phrase? Actually, that's not the case. We deserve rest. Let's forget the shoulds. All the endless to-do list. Look, you spend your life cleaning your house, it was always going to get dirty again. So I think we can give ourselves a little rest because it will still be waiting for us at the end of the rest. So then, what would change if you stopped seeing rest as something that you had to earn? How would that feel? And what is possible when rest feels safe instead of scary, instead of feeling guilty for rest, like, oh, someone's going to catch me and I need to run around and do stuff and look busy and look productive. When actually, as I said at the beginning, like, rest can be incredibly productive for more than just the physical fact that we need rest, but actually for generating those ideas, for thinking outside the box, for thinking differently, for having a new perspective, for coming back revived and with more energy and vitality than just slogging through. And let's think about how we can begin to build a relationship with rest that feels compassionate and realistic and isn't accompanied by guilt and shame and shoulds and that feeling of constantly being on an overdrive. If this has helped you in any way, if you want to download the free PDF with strategies for regulating your nervous system, please do check the link in the show notes. I also have a guided meditation on YouTube for you to check in to which nervous system state you are currently in. And yeah, just give me a follow and share this with a friend that you think may benefit from this. Let me know your takeaways. Feel free to send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and take care and have a lovely week. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Empowered by Claudia podcast. I'm Claudia from claudiasabinawellness.com. If you are ready to take your next step and transform your life, all the ways to connect with me, whether for coaching, courses, or any other sort of support, are in the show notes or on my website at www.claudiasabinawellness.com. If you found value in this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review, share it with a friend, or post about it on social media. Don't forget to tag me at Claudia_Sabina_wellness. Your support helps more people discover the tools and guidance they need. I cannot wait to support you on your journey. Much love.